dance with the elements over there, man, and they have that saying, inshallah, in God's hands. And it's true. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. You can have a beautiful blue sky at 8 in the morning, you get off your first shot, and all of a sudden you look across the desert, and here comes a sandstorm. The sandstorms break and start. We would have beautiful, beautiful morning like this. And at lunch today, 1 o'clock today.
Excuse me.
On the first scout in Morocco, we were there in July. We went to a town called Erfoud, which is on the northern edge of the Sahara Desert, and got out of the car to check out a location and looked at the thermometer on the car, and it was 149 degrees. That's not an exaggeration. Truly 149 degrees, which is not, I didn't know we could get that hot on the earth.
We had massive flooding in which all the bridges getting to our locations were knocked out.
For 3-4 days, there was a plague of locusts just coming at us like dieglowers.
We were hoping some of those days are budgeted for. I'm sure they are. If somebody who's ever smart doing a budget.
You can really only shoot successfully in Morocco in the winter into very early spring. So we shot late January into the early spring. And the weather was great. It was like being in LA in the winter, except of the rain and the sandstorms and the locust.
I chased down the role a little over 7 years ago. Got turned on to the books and the character, and found out that the rights were still out there, and that nobody had really gotten Clive Cussler, the author's approval, as Dirk Pitt. So I went to him. Finally, he approved. After having funny conversations like, I think you'd be a great Dirk Pitt, but your hair's sandy blonde and Dirk's brunette. I was like, we can do something about that. And then he said, I think you'd be a great Dirk Pitt, but your eyes are blue and Dirk's are green. I said, I suppose we can do something about that, too.
Matthew did dye his hair and put in green contacts to make sure he did match the physical description.
He really lived and breathed Dirk Pitt. He wanted it. I mean, for 7 years, he was lobbying for that part. And when he finally got it, he made the most of the opportunity, and he just dedicated himself.
He was pursuing Dirk Pitt before I came on. Yeah. And he was pursuing Dirk Pitt after I was gone.
Even before I'd read some books, I'd always said I was looking for a character that could wrestle with the crocodiles in the morning and dance with the queen at the ball that night. That kind of Renaissance man. That's my general explanation of a Renaissance man. And then when I read this, I was like, well, that's Dirk Pitt.
And you found a coin.
I just ate coin. I found the coin. I love that scene in the back of the boat where I, as Dirk Pitt, get to tell Ava Rojas my secret. Really get to see what's ticking inside of him and why. Half in what he says, half in by the look in his eye. Now, what kind of man tries to take a ship like that across the ocean? Why? How? I don't know. But I plan on finding out. Al loves it when people ask me that. Thinks it makes me look a bit. It also is something that gets sort of that romance started because he is sharing a secret. That's why it's romantic. So he doesn't make a move, on the girl. What he does is he shares something.
Matthew was attached to the project when I came on board. And he's also a producer, so there's another layer to the typical star and producer relationship.
There were times during production I was like, why did I want to become an executive producer on this? That was stupid. And at the end of a 15-hour day, I'm needing my sleep, being up at 1 in the morning working on the scene we're going to do the next day that didn't maybe have to do with me. So why did I do this?
So I've been talking to his back for the last 30 minutes?
You've been doing the same thing that you've been doing here.
But because it was something that I enjoyed so much, the story, having an opinion on the tone of where it was going and communicating with the director, that was a joy.
I was completely taken aback by how seriously he approached this in terms of his diet and exercise.
It takes some work, man. I'm 8.5, 9 pounds lighter than Dirk Pitt right now because we got a different role coming out. But Dirk was in great shape. I said, man, this is one of those guys, one of those opportunities where you go, guys in the best mental shape, spiritual shape, and physical shape. There is, across the board.
He's built like a ballet school. He works out all the time. He and Steve, they're both incredibly buff. They adore each other. They hang around, lie about women, and do all those great things that guys are supposed to do.
Excuse me again.
Dirk really couldn't survive without Al. That's just plain and simple. I mean, he looks good. He's this fast guy. He's a smooth dude. He's quick. He's always wet. He's always wet, which is interesting because Al's not always wet.
Clive Cussler wrote Al Giardino based on his best friend from the war. I think in the book he's 5'1" or 5'2", built like a tank with dark curly hair. So when you start with that and you think, okay, let's get an actor for that. There is nobody. There is no actor that exactly out there working that fits that role. And then in just looking at everybody, I came across Steve Zahn.
I called Richard Linklater, who worked with him in Suburbia, and talked to him about him. And Rick was like, yeah, you know what, actually, very interesting. I think you two would get on well.
Steve Zahn has a just crazy out there sense of humor, and he just improvises like crazy, and he can he's off the wall, but he's created at the same time a very real character to put all of that kind of Tasmanian devil energy into.
He was a guy that I always saw in films, whether it was bad or out of sight, and I'd see him and I go, man, I want to see more of that guy. I always like him in these smaller roles that he is. And I like his timing and the characters he plays, and he makes me laugh, basically.
And most importantly to me, Steve embodied the spirit of Al. So I brought Steve out to Phoenix to meet with Clive, because Clive has approval of Dirk and Al.